Back in those early days, we were performing almost every single night. There were only about half a dozen bands in rotation, and we were one of them. It was a busy time, but it shaped the musician Roy Wood would eventually become, one of the most inventive creative forces in British rock history. Roy Wood isn't just a guitarist, or a singer, or a songwriter. He's a complete musical architect. The founder of The Move, Electric Light Orchestra, and Wizzard, and a man who could pick up nearly any instrument and master it. His wild hair, face paint, and fearless stage presence became unforgettable icons of the 1970s. But beneath the flamboyant surface was a sharp musical mind. A man who crafted classics like I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day and See My Baby Jive. Roy Wood understood recording, arrangement, orchestration, harmony, and production at a level few rock musicians ever reached. Sometimes he would lock himself away for 4 or 5 days straight, not speaking to a single person, just writing, experimenting, and building musical worlds inside the studio. So when Roy Wood revealed his 10 favorite musicians, fans immediately noticed his list wasn't predictable. It wasn't casual, and it wasn't the usual collection of famous names most rock stars throw out. This was a list from someone who had studied classical music, worshipped American rock and roll, and borrowed inspiration from every possible corner of the musical universe. For Wood, technical perfection mattered far less than originality. Creativity always beat following rules, and he admired musicians who took risks. Artists who carved out their own sound instead of copying everyone else. His list stretches across genres, generations, and musical philosophies. Let's explore the musicians who shaped the genius of Roy Wood. 1. Ludwig van Beethoven. Sitting at the top of Roy Wood's list is none other than Ludwig van Beethoven, a choice that reveals just how deeply Wood respected the architecture of classical music. Beethoven's symphonies, sonatas, and concertos remain unmatched in emotional power and structural brilliance even 200 years later. Roy Wood studied Beethoven for years, absorbing his sense of drama, melody, and tension. Beethoven broke rules, redefined classical music, and continued composing even after going completely deaf, relying purely on imagination. Wood admired Beethoven's courage, his innovation, and his relentless search for musical truth. To Roy Wood, Beethoven proved that music could be both popular and profound. 2. Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson created the Beach Boys' signature sound and produced some of the most sophisticated recordings in pop history. Pet Sounds demonstrated a level of emotional depth and musical artistry that left Roy Wood in awe. Wilson blended orchestras, unusual instruments, and complex harmonies with his childlike sense of wonder. Roy Wood considered Wilson one of the greatest producers ever, a man whose imagination reshaped pop music from the inside out. Pet Sounds heavily influenced Wood's orchestral vision for rock. 3. The Beatles. The Beatles weren't just a rock band, they were a revolution. Their evolution from simple pop to groundbreaking studio artistry influenced Roy Wood more than any other group. From Rubber Soul to Abbey Road, they expanded the boundaries of what popular music could be. Classical strings, Indian sitars, tape loops, sound experiments, multi-tracking. They transformed the recording studio into a creative playground. Roy Wood admired their refusal to repeat themselves. They made music into art. And they proved that British musicians could compete with and surpass their American heroes. Their impact on Wood's work in The Move and ELO was fundamental. 4. Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry wrote the dictionary of rock and roll. His lyrics captured teenage life with charm and humor, while his guitar riffs became the backbone of every rock guitarist who followed. Roy Wood saw Berry as the pure essence of rock's birth, a complete artist who wrote, sang, played, and performed with unmatched charisma. Barry's Gibson ES-355 created the unmistakable rock guitar tone. Wood believed every rock musician owed Barry a debt that could never be repaid. 5. Jeff Lynne. Jeff Lynne, co-founder of Electric Light Orchestra with Roy Wood, is one of the most respected producers in rock. Though Wood left ELO early, he never stopped admiring Lynne's talent. Lynne took ELO to global success with his polished songwriting and meticulous production. Roy Wood praised Lynne's dedication and intelligence, noting how he blended classical influences with pop hooks effortlessly. Their brief partnership created the seeds of ELO's signature sound, and Wood always acknowledged Lynne's brilliance. 6. Phil Spector. Phil Spector changed record production forever. With his legendary wall of sound, he layered pianos, guitars, drums, and orchestras into dense, powerful arrangements that sounded like pop symphonies. Hits like Be My Baby and You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin' showcased production as an art form all by itself. Roy Wood devoured Spector's methods, learning how layers create emotional weight. Spector showed him that the studio is not just a place to record music. It is an instrument. Wood incorporated those lessons heavily into his work with The Move, ELO, and Wizzard. Spector's influence on Wood was both undeniable and immense. 7. Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly nearly invented the modern rock band format by himself. His guitar, bass, drums, vocals setup became the blueprint for every rock group that followed. Holly wrote, sang, played guitar, arranged, and produced his own tracks. Roy Wood studied him intensely and considered Holly a foundational influence. Holly's songs, like Peggy Sue and That'll Be the Day, used innovative studio tricks, including double tracking and clever mic placement, long before these techniques became standard. His beloved Fender Stratocaster became the signature rock guitar. Roy Wood admired Holly's combination of craft and experimentation, how he pushed boundaries while staying completely accessible. His life was cut short at 22, but his impact was eternal. 8. Eddie Cochran. Eddie Cochran wasn't just a great guitarist, he was a one-man recording army. He played almost every instrument on his records, engineered his own sessions, and pioneered techniques before most musicians even knew what multi-tracking meant. Songs like Summertime Blues and Come On Everybody became anthems because Cochran injected energy, personality, and authenticity into every note. His innovative use of echo and reverb transformed the sound of early rock recordings. Roy Wood admired Cochran's independence, the way he controlled every detail of his music without needing producers or a full band. Cochran was decades ahead of his time. Tragically, he died at 21, but his influence on British rock, including Roy Wood, was massive and permanent. 9. Carl Perkins. Carl Perkins is the man who wrote Blue Suede Shoes and helped create the foundation of rockabilly guitar. Perkins blended country, blues, and rhythm and blues into something explosive and fresh. As a teenager, Roy Wood found Perkins's records and discovered that simplicity, when done right, could be revolutionary. Perkins didn't just play guitar, he made it speak. His Sun Records tracks were full of clarity, personality, and invention. Every lick had a purpose. Nothing was random. He could play rhythm and lead at the same time, giving one guitar the fullness of an entire band. Roy Wood believed Perkins laid the blueprint for British rock guitar. Even the Beatles adored him and covered multiple Perkins songs. Perkins wasn't just influential, he was foundational. 10. Spike Jones. Spike Jones was a comedic whirlwind. But underneath the jokes was genuine musical brilliance. His band performed outrageously complex arrangements while adding sound effects, slapstick chaos, and theatrical humor. During the 1940s and 1950s, Jones created parodies and novelty hits that were packed with technical fireworks. Roy Wood adored the way Jones blended entertainment and musicianship so seamlessly. Jones's classics like Der Führer's Face and Cocktails for Two hid intricate arrangements behind the laughter. His players were elite session musicians capable of perfect precision. He used cowbells, gunshots, whistles, car horns, all mixed with traditional orchestras. And somehow, it worked. What Roy Wood loved most was Jones's unapologetic originality. Spike Jonze proved music could be funny, sophisticated, and brilliant at the same time. A philosophy that Wood carried into his own theatrical rock productions.